Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? It's hot sauce time. Stick around. Hey, welcome back. It's dark 30 outside, and we're doing this so early because I'm still working in harvest time, still hauling corn for one of the local farmers. So we got to do stuff either before I go or after I go. So that's why I'm doing this morning. And Kelly's already awake, so we're not going to bother her. And before we get started, remember our last subscriber that we rewarded for being so loyal and sticking with us, Linda Blinn. She got her gift. She didn't want anything fancy. She said, save your money for your drone. We want you to buy your drone so you can start getting those nice drone shots on your homestead. So I said, I got to send you something. So she opted for a couple Mark Kelly Farm hats, and she got them. And she sent us a real nice video. We'll show you that now.
Hi Mark. Hi Kelly. As you can see, the hats have arrived. We absolutely love them. Thank you so much. We love your channel, and we love you both too. Thank you again.
That's so awesome. And she's actually going to start her own YouTube channel. She wants to do a cooking channel, and that's going to be really cool. So when she gets that up and running, we'll keep you posted on that, and we'll share all of her information with you. So let's get at this hot sauce. Remember what we have going on here. We'll run through it so you know what we've already done. So if you've been with the channel, you know we have these peppers fermenting here on the counter for a couple weeks. Right before our first frost, we went out and picked all of our peppers. Some of them was the day after the first frost, which was fine. The peppers were still good, but the plants were killed back pretty well. We got the rest of our jalapenos, and then we got our habaneros. And if you remember, our habaneros had just started producing peppers. So we lost most of our habanero crop. Now I was looking forward to making some hot sauce that my friend Arnold out in California makes. Really fantastic habanero hot sauce. It's more of like a salsa. It's a little bit thicker. But he makes that with habaneros, and he cuts it with a little bit of jalapenos so it's not so crazy hot. But I love that stuff on, like, when I have a steak or something, I'll put a little bit of that hot sauce on there. It's really good. And we planned on making a whole bunch of his sauce. He gave me the recipe. But, like I said, our habaneros were almost a total loss. So we got just a handful of habaneros to do this with. So that little handful of habaneros is what we put in this jar over here. We probably had about a cup and a half of habaneros. We just cut the stem off of them, and then we kind of quartered them. So in this jar we put a cup and a half of habaneros, and then we probably put 2 cups of our sweet peppers. They were a yellow and orange bell pepper. They were actually from last year. I had them in the freezer all cut up. And then the rest of the jar we filled with some of our canned carrots, because I want to stay with that beautiful orange color. And the carrots will bring a little bit of sweetness, if there's any sweetness that lasts after being fermented. A lot of times the fermentation process will take up your sweetness. But we also added about, I think it was about 4 cloves of crushed garlic in there. And then the whole rest was a 2% salt brine. And it's easy to get to 2%. What we did was we set our kitchen scale to grams, and then we put a container on there and zeroed it out. We put in 100 grams of water, and then to get your 2% salt brine, you just put 2 grams of salt for every 100 grams, and that gives you your 2%. I think I made that twice to fill up our jars. But that's all you put for the fermentation process. We bought, if you remember, this 4 jars fermentation, not 4 jars, Mason Tops. Mason Tops fermentation kit, really cool, comes with everything you need to ferment. It comes with these little burp lids, so as the fermentation process takes place, the gases are able to expel from the ferment. Now, I highly recommend you go watch, I think it's on YouTube, how they make Tabasco sauce. They actually ferment their peppers for a really long time. And that's what we did here. So our ferment is pretty much over. It's been 2 weeks. Tabasco goes a lot longer with their peppers. But we've got plenty of fermentation done on these peppers. I'm actually going to taste these jalapenos. I'm really interested to see how they taste. And then we're going to process our hot sauce. Now, if you watch that documentary on how they make Tabasco sauce, it's very interesting. When they go through the field, they want to make sure the peppers are exactly the level of ripeness that they want. So the pickers will carry around these little wooden batons that are the color of the pepper that they want. So if the pepper doesn't match the color on that baton, they don't pick it. They let it wait. Or if it's too red, they'll leave it or use it for something else. But I thought it was neat that they picked them at the exact peak flavor. In fact, they say Baton Rouge in Louisiana was named after those little red batons. I don't know if that's a fact, but I heard that. But thought that was pretty cool. Right, we opened our jalapeno jar. We took our little glass puck off the top. This is the little weight that comes with the Mason Tops kit that keeps everything underneath the liquid. A really good flavor on the jalapenos, really great jalapeno flavor, and they almost taste pickled, but there's a different, very distinct flavor to the jalapenos when they're fermented like that that's really fantastic. So we were originally going to make hot sauce out of this, but what I'm going to do is we're going to put a regular lid on now that the fermentation process is complete. I'm not going to put it on completely tight. I'm just going to set it on there and just pretty much put a ring on it. But I'm not going to cinch it down in case it needs to like burp itself anymore. And then we're going to put this in our downstairs refrigerator. And then anytime we need jalapenos during the winter, we'll have them. It's a really fantastic way to preserve them. So we'll have this to use all winter. So we're going to put this away and then we're going to get to that. All right, we're ready to go. Hey, quick tip, if you want to clear your sinuses out in the morning, eat some fermented jalapenos. So we've got our glass puck taken out. I'm going to strain out most of the liquid, and then we're going to dump all of the solids inside of our Ninja blender. And this blender has 2 sets of blades. I highly recommend you use something like this or similar because we're going to really blend this like crazy. You could use a food processor. A regular blender with just the blades down in the bottom won't do quite as good a job, but would probably get it done. So we're going to start with the solids, and then we'll add liquid as needed to keep everything running and spinning in there. And I'm under the assumption we're going to need all of this liquid for our hot sauce. So we'll probably end up putting most of it back in, but you want to add the reserved liquid as needed to get the consistency that you want. If you don't want it super thin, you might not want to put all of it back in, but the ratio we got going on here is pretty good. So I don't think we're going to end up super thin. So I'm going to get this strained off a little bit into our little cup here, and we'll throw the rest in the blender. All right, we got about a cup of our reserved liquid. Boy, this stuff smells amazing. I can't wait to try it. The rest we have in the blender, and we're going to take it for a good spin. Now we've blended this for a good couple minutes, and I'm going to continue to blend it, and then every now and then I pulse it, and that gets everything up on the sides and pulls everything down from the sides. You can see it running down the side there. That's what you want. You don't want a bunch of unblended stuff up here stuck. So we'll keep pulsing this and keep blending this. Now if you're using like a Vitamix mixer, which is a really good mixer and really expensive, you want to be careful because the Vitamix will actually heat things up. And This one might also, but we check it every now and then, put our hands on it, make sure we don't heat it up too much, because if we heat it, that takes away a lot of the probiotic benefit of this stuff. Because it's fermented, it's got a really good probiotic effect. So I'm going to keep blending. All right, we blended this for a good 3 or 4 minutes. Look at that beautiful color, is what we were looking for. Now you can see how thick that is. We don't want it that thick. So I'm going to add probably about a half of a cup. We've got about a cup here. About a half a cup of this reserved liquid. That's about right. We'll give that a try. We're going to pulse it again. I rinsed the lid off because it had some bigger chunks that I didn't want falling in later. So we're going to pulse this again and see what our consistency comes out to be. All right, this is after that half a cup. You can see that it's still got a pretty thick consistency to it. So I think we're going to add all of it. And I think we're going to be about right with that. And we'll blend it up a little bit more. And then we'll show you what you do next. All right, I think we've reached the consistency that we want. It's not terribly thick, but it's got some little consistency to it. We don't want a really super runny sauce. So I'm going to take our cutter out of here. And then we're going to strain this through a really fine sieve. And this is about the finest that I have right here. So we'll put this in our measuring cup here. And then we'll get this strained out. And we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, we'll show you the process. So this stuff is obviously just not going to pour through here by itself. So you get your little spatula and you coax it through. Oops, I got a little over the side there. And then you end up with this pulp over here. Just keep stirring it. And you're just clearing the sieve with your little spatula is what you're doing so the liquid can get through. And then once you're done, you'll have just the pulp left in the strainer. And once you think it's sufficiently drained, then we clear it out and go again. All right, we got her all done. Here's our pulp right here. Then here's our beautiful hot sauce. Look at the color of that. It's just amazing. I love that. It's great consistency. It's not real runny and it's not real thick either. It's perfect. Some of you are going to wonder, what do you do with a sauce that's made out of peppers that are extremely hot? For one, habanero has a very fantastic flavor. I love it. It's a real fruity flavor if you can get by the heat a little bit. The other reason is if you have a hotter sauce, think of it as a concentrate. So instead of using a quarter of a bottle of a lesser hot sauce on something that I want a little heat to, I can use a few drops of this and still get that flavor and still get the heat. And this is going to last me a lot longer than it would if it was a weaker hot sauce. So that's the other reason why you would want a hotter sauce. Now, some of this sauce out on the market is just novelty hot. And to me, that's just senseless. I like flavor. And habanero has, like I said, a fantastic flavor. If you've never tried it before, I highly recommend that you do it. Do it in moderation, of course. If you don't like a lot of hot stuff, just use a drop or two and you'll get that flavor from it. Now, my buddy Arnold's sauce, all this would be in the sauce. It would all be mixed up and he puts it in like little canning jars. And we wanted to put this in like regular hot sauce jars is why we did this consistency and we strained it. Now, don't throw this stuff away. If you're as frugal as you need to be, put this stuff, spread it out on parchment paper and put it in your food dehydrator, or if you're independently wealthy, your freeze dryer, and dry this stuff completely and make a powder out of it. It'd be a fantastic chili powder, and you wouldn't need a lot of it. So we're going to start putting our hot sauce in jars. All right, we've got our bottles. I called them jars earlier. I just ordered these on Amazon. We sterilized them after we washed them with some white vinegar. Just pour it in there and shake it around a little bit and then pour it out. Now these jars come with the little hot sauce toppers and lids and little labels that you can put on these bottles. So super cool. Got them on Amazon. We're going to fill these. We got our little funnel and we'll fill these up. All right, look at that. Isn't that the most awesome thing you ever saw? I'm so excited to have our own hot sauce here. Now I found out these aren't labels. These are actually heat shrink things that you put over the lid and then hit them with a heat gun and they shrink for your seal, your safety seal. But it would be real easy to put labels on these, but we don't actually need them. But isn't that awesome? Love making our own hot sauce. Now let's talk a little bit about settling. Sometimes the hot sauce, the solids in it, anything that's left will settle to the bottom of the bottle and it'll start looking weird. That's fine. All you got to do is just give it a little shake before you use it and just mixes right back together. Unless you've let it set for a really, really long time and it gets kind of gummy on the bottom, but still, it's not going to hurt it. What some people do to their hot sauce is they'll incorporate some xanthan gum, starts with an X, Xantham, xanthan gum. You would add that at 1/8 of a teaspoon per cup of liquid and blend that up real well after you strain it. And that eliminates a lot of your settling issues, but I didn't want to add anything extra to my hot sauce. I want to keep it just as pure as I can, because if you look at a really good hot sauce level or label, it'll say peppers, vinegar, and salt. That's it. We obviously don't need the vinegar because we fermented, so that's what we came up with. All right, folks, that wraps it up. I got to start getting my lunch together for work. Still dark outside. But we hope you enjoyed this process. I hope you try this process because fermenting is the absolute easiest thing you can do, and it's really good. It doesn't have to be hot. You can ferment any kind of vegetable, really. Same process, 2% salt brine, and buy some of those Mason Top fermentation kit. That's fantastic. It's got everything you need, but you don't have to have that. You can do it in a regular jar. Just don't seal the lid down real tight, or just put a piece of cheesecloth over the top with a rubber band or something. You can do it. But till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Thanks for visiting us here on Mark Kelly Farm, and we'll see you next time.